Thanks for watching the Paul Farrington Show. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all of the above. And make sure you follow us at Paul Farrington Show on Instagram. Thanks for watching. And welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. We're back after a long hiatus. I was off in Colorado attempting to ski. Ziggy, you should have seen me going down the mountain. It was
I'm glad I didn't.
An ugly
I'm glad I didn't.
The fourth day that we're skiing, I wasn't planning on it, but the way it worked out, someone was able to give me their pass. I said, all right, I'll head up. And I went tumbling down the mountain and landed on my back on top of one of the skis and just got this big bruise. I was like, you know what? I'm done. If I'm going on one of these vacations, I'd like to just golf. It's easy. Don't have to lug around this equipment.
Warm weather.
The pool, sunglasses. Skiing was a lot of fun, but just very tiring. So unfortunately, it happened to coincide with the week leading up to the Super Bowl. But now with the Super Bowl over, we are back. We're going to break down a little bit about that penalty that everyone's been talking about for a few days. We'll discuss where a couple of the top quarterbacks on the free agent market or the trade market could be going this offseason, including Aaron Rodgers. Andrew might be happy to hear where some of us have him landing. And then we'll end with discussing the top 10 quarterbacks that you'd want or that we would want going into next season to win a Super Bowl, and maybe a little bit of the most recent Super Bowl odds for next season, where the Vikings, I'm not quite happy with where they fall. And Jack is very upset.
Oh,
with the
fuming
Steelers.
with where we fall. Yeah, kidding me?
So we'll get to that in a bit. But why don't we start with the big game? Chiefs beat the Eagles 38-35. Instant classic Super Bowl. Tons of fun to watch. But the big conversation coming out of it is the penalty at the end of the game on Bradberry, the Eagles cornerback, holding Juju Smith, or maybe not holding Juju Smith. What were your guys' thoughts, Ziggy? Do you like the call? First off, do you think it was a penalty? Second, do you like calling it?
Look, James Bradberry's right. Letter of the law, that's a penalty, right? Juju Smith-Schuster got up like 6 yards. Bradberry tugged a little bit. Like, that is a penalty. But at a certain point, if you're a ref, you have to think, you haven't called this all game. Usually refs don't call this. If you call this, the Super Bowl is over and the ball was uncatchable. Now, it's one thing, right? If it's a tug that like takes the ball out of reach and he's not able to catch it, then I get it, because this was a late flag after the play. But after the play's over, you realize he couldn't have caught it, and you sit there and think, do I want to decide the Super Bowl right now? And it's not like you're screwing the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs still get their field goal. The defense still gets a chance to stop the Eagles. I just don't understand the decision that leads you to decide that this is how you want to end the game. Because the game is an instant classic. One of the best Super Bowls of all time up to this point. Deciding to end it on a ticky-tacky maybe penalty, I don't know, Paul.
Jack, what about you?
Yeah, I totally agree. We saw this throughout the game a couple times, where one time specifically where Bradberry tugged the jersey of Juju, more so than what he did on the last play, and it was not called.
Right over the middle of the field, right?
Yes, and it wasn't called. And it's 35-35. There's 2 minutes left. And I don't even think it was a penalty. But even if it's one thing, as Ziggy said, like if it was a blatant, obvious hold, 100% fine. But if you're going to decide the Super Bowl, you're taking the chance away from it being 38-35, 2 minutes left. Hurts gets the ball back. One of the best endings we'll probably ever see in a Super Bowl for a nonsense little BS tug of a jersey. The ball was 10 yards over his head anyway.
Yeah, and it's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee that the Eagles would score, but I think they would have. The way the game was playing out, Hurts was one of the best performances.
It's only if it was a clear hold, but it wasn't. It was nothing.
And I don't care if the Eagles would have scored, right? It's not about the outcome. Like, I don't think the Chiefs were robbed here, right? Or the Eagles were robbed. The Chiefs played well. Both teams, you could argue, deserve the victory. But to not get a chance to see that drive, Frank Clark could have had a career-defining moment. A.J. Brown could have earned the right to trash talk Juju on Twitter instead of whatever he's doing now.
To play devil's advocate a little bit here, because I agree with you guys. No, I agree with you guys. I think that there are certain plays that they just matter more, and you got to allow a few more things to happen. But some people will come out and say, Ziggy, and Jack, I hear what you're saying, but a penalty is a penalty. If it's a penalty in the first quarter, it should be a penalty in the fourth.
But it wasn't a penalty in the first
quarter. But it wasn't.
Quarter.
It was sliding all game. That wasn't called.
Yeah. But if like James Bradberry said, I held him. So by letter of the law, it was a hold.
So the other one should have been a hold too. That was more obvious and blatant.
Some calls are just missed.
Like, they're going to throw that. the second one, throw the first one.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. So there's multiple ways of looking at it. You could say, one, be consistent within the game itself.
I don't think it was a penalty. Like I looked at that.
Really
I watched that play several times again and again as an Eagles backer.
Oh, this makes a lot more sense now. He says the worst penalty.
I know, and I was watching the game with some Chiefs backers, and they were like, you know what, like even though we had the Chiefs, this was a very anticlimactic, horrible ending. That was a horrible call.
I try to put when I'm thinking about these calls and where I really come down on them. I try to imagine if the Vikings were the culprit of the penalty, or if they were receiving the benefit of it. So I do think. If I was rooting for the Chiefs, if the Vikings were in the Chiefs' place, I would look at that and go, wow, like we really got away with one.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when I say, okay, I would not throw the flag.
It's the most hopeless feeling ever, for a Jalen Hurts and for the Eagles offense to not have the chance and to feel hopeless and watch the other team take a knee as the clock winds down.
Jalen Hurts, go ahead, Ziggy. You look like you want to say something.
I was going to say is all of this is true. But I still think it's worth keeping in perspective just how much the Eagles defense let them down.
Yeah, especially
you're talking a team
performance all season.
You're talking a team that in I think 19 games got 70 sacks, and they pressured Mahomes like twice. And it's not like the Chiefs have some incredible all-time offensive line either, right? This isn't the 90s Cowboys. You're talking about cornerbacks and safeties not being able to force any turnovers. Like, I think the Eagles players are right when they say that this one play didn't decide the game. There was all sorts of stuff they could have done differently. But, man, it stings to lose like this.
Oh, there's a lot.
I think the Eagles were the better team in this game. But you give Mahomes a defensive touchdown and you give him a long return on special teams. Yep. You give the Chiefs those types of things. And you're not going to beat them.
Those were the two plays that I highlighted.
Philly's up by 10 points at the half. Again, whole world of game left. And the Chiefs come right out of the half, march on the field, score a touchdown. I think if Philly holds the Chiefs there and goes to score again, it's wraps.
Yeah, and we can play the game of hypotheticals. I really think the play you just mentioned, the fumble recovery for a touchdown, that was the one. Philly was unstoppable in the first half. The Kansas City defense could do nothing. If they're able to go down and punch that in, again, you can't play hypotheticals.
That's a 14-point lead. But that's 21-7.
Wow. You don't have to punch it in. You just have to punt the ball.
Right? Even just punt. Up by 7, you're punting. Yeah.
A defensive touchdown in
the first half. I thought for sure Philly was going to win the game.
I think they were the better team overall.
Hurts was phenomenal.
He outplayed Mahomes.
He was unbelievable the entire game, except for the fumble. I know they only scored 11 points in the second half, but some of the throws he was making and the catches Dallas Goedert was making, it was just unbelievable. The Philadelphia team, they were very good, and I know that sometimes you catch lightning in a bottle. I don't think that's the case. I believe this was going to be a really good team for a few years to come, as long as they're able to hold on to everyone, which will be a question. I know there's a lot of free agents in Philly, but I was really impressed with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, as Mahomes said, I'll quote him, if there's any doubters left about Jalen Hurts, there shouldn't be any more.
He's got that swag. He has the swagger necessary to be an elite quarterback in football and someone who you can trust. I think he would have gone down the field and scored if he got the ball back.
100%.
I really did.
I was ready to double down live. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking a guy who he threw for like 300 yards, ran for 80, put 3 touchdowns up on the ground, got the octopus, right? He got 8 points for him right there. Like, this guy did absolutely everything that was asked of him
on the biggest stage possible.
And Mahomes is also great as well. Another really gutsy performance. When he went down for a second there, I knew he was going to stay in the game. It didn't look that bad, but if you were a Chiefs fan, you had to hold your breath. Once again, he's showing just how unbelievable he is.
I love how he was. Yeah, the Eagles were winning. He was faking that injury, he was hurting, and then he was fine.
No, Mahomes, look, he has a lot of superpowers. I think maybe his number one superpower, dude, throughout his football career, has played through all sorts of injuries. Yeah. Like, it doesn't even bother him. Yeah, I don't know.
His pain tolerance seems to be great, unless he's getting jacked up on horse testosterone on the sideline.
He might have been.
All these guys are.
I was ready to see him coming out of the second half neighing after getting whatever injection in the locker room.
He did. They marched down the field.
I wanted to ask you guys, the quarterback sneak that the Eagles do. I heard this is discussed on a couple of the podcasts.
It's the most unstoppable play in football history.
It's unbelievable. Do you like that that's a legal play, that you're able to come up and push Jalen Hurts from behind?
Yeah, why not?
Well, I know they used to outlaw. I don't know if the NFL did, but in college it used to be an illegal move.
I think anything should go. Anything should go.
It's legal now. It's legal now.
Yeah, like we got Jawan Bentley, like Weinberger for the Patriots, whining that the NFL needs to change the rules. Look, if you've got a team that can there are very few teams in the NFL that can execute a QB sneak like the Eagles.
Yeah.
You need the right kind of quarterback. You need the right kind of big bodies.
Great offensive line. Jason.
Yeah,
Kelsey.
and look, you're talking about a play that gets you like 1 yard, right? If we need to outlaw plays that get you 1 yard, what are we doing?
Well, I heard Richard Sherman was talking about it, and he said that if you take it from the defensive tackle perspective, he thinks that it's a big injury risk. So you have a lot of weight coming down on you, and it's tough to you have the running back pushing the quarterback, the center, the offensive line, then you have guys coming from behind you as well. He just thinks it's an injury risk play, so he actually would outlaw it, and I was surprised to hear that because at first glance it seems okay, that's kind of soft. It's football. We're talking about a scrum here, but if the NFL is trying to make plays to keep players safe, then it seems like one that should be reviewed a little bit.
I mean, do you remember when Patrick Mahomes' kneecap went into his calf on that QB sneak?
There's risk.
Yeah, but look, there are injuries in football. If we outlaw every play where players are at serious risk of injury, I mean, outlaw throwing in the middle of the field.
No, I'm okay with it. This is just an interesting point of discussion that I thought Richard brought up.
In a sport like football, as physical as it is, there's just as good a chance anybody gets hurt on any play. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't outlaw a play that should be perfectly allowed and legal.
A couple people I was watching the game with who don't watch football too regularly were just looking over and saying, "Why don't they just do that 4 times every single time? They gain 3 yards." I know you can't do that, but it was working. It's an unbelievably effective sneak. I know if the Vikings tried that.
Totally fine.
If the Vikings tried that, Kirk Cousins would be on his back throwing the ball. It would be horrendous. It would be very bad.
The Steelers wouldn't try it. We'd give the ball behind the line of Najee, it gets stuffed.
Yeah,
that's what we do.
You wouldn't try it. I just say I became a really big Jason Kelsey fan over the past couple of weeks. I haven't watched his podcast too much, but it's one of the bigger ones. I think it's number 1 in sports right now. But the way that with all the media attention on him, the way that he was handling losing and talking to his brother, and he seems like a super cool dude. I think he's gone up there, and maybe one of my favorite players that I would want to get a beer with in the NFL.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah.
Let's not forget, he completely saved Travis Kelce's career too. A lot of people don't know this.
Please.
When Travis Kelce was in college, so Jason Kelce basically brought him to the University of Cincinnati. Travis Kelce couldn't stay off the weed, so Cincinnati kicked him off the team.
Oh, he was ineligible.
Yeah, and not just ineligible for the season. They were going to completely get rid of him. And Jason Kelce came in. He lobbied with the coach. He lobbied with the athletic director. He lobbied with the president or dean of the university to get him back on. They said, all right, but the condition is you've got to live with your brother. So they ended up staying together for 2 years. He got Travis Kelce back on the right path, and the rest is history. But if it's not for Jason Kelce, Travis Kelce never plays professional football. You never get to see one of the best tight ends of all time.
The funny thing is, I knew, of course, that Travis played at Cincy. I had no clue that Jason was on the same team at Cincinnati.
Yeah, they never played together. They weren't actually on the field together at the same time, but they were on the same team. I think it was because Travis was ineligible.
Yeah, I did not know that.
No, that's a cool story, Ziggy. I didn't know that. We should do that later in the offseason as we're trying to get topics. I think a top 5 players that you would want to grab a beer with is a good list there.
I have my number 1.
I have my number 1.
I don't know if wait, do you want to share it now or should we wait?
Wait, does this include former players?
Yeah, mine's a former player too.
Oh, interesting.
Mine's a former player too.
When we do it, I think we should say only active players. So go ahead. What former player would you grab a beer with?
O.J. Simpson.
Oh, all right. We're doing this again. Again.
Wait, that was mine too.
I've got some insight on who the real killer is.
Oh my gosh!
I've been doing some detective work for my boy OJ.
I had the same answer. Mine was Big Ben.
Big Ben. Jeez, oh my gosh! Wow, you guys can't choose 2 more upstanding individuals, can you?
Well, OJ was never convicted of a crime except for armed robbery.
Oh my god! All right. Why don't we? And then real quick, actually, while we're talking about the Eagles, we'll just mention that both of their coordinators received head coaching positions today. We have. Let me just get the names here. With the Cardinals, defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon, he'll be taking over that shit show in Arizona, and in Indianapolis, Shane Steichen, I believe it's Steichen. he'll take over the Colts, and it looks like they're going to be making a move up for a quarterback in the draft, according to Jim Irsay. Did you see that, Ziggy?
Yeah, I mean, of course they are. Steichen going back to Indianapolis. Like you got to love the Colts and Eagles are so parasitic on each other, right? The Colts hire Frank Reich from Philadelphia and then send their offensive coordinator to Philly to be the head coach, and now it's the other way around.
Just a lot of swapping there.
Trivia question for you, though.
Go ahead.
Keep going, guys. I'll get probably watching the game at the moment. There's 8 seconds left, but you guys carry on. Then I'll hop back in, all right?
Do you know when the last time a team lost both their coordinators in one offseason was?
Oh, I actually do. I have these. Look, I'm not gonna look because I have it right in front of me. I believe it was the Arizona Cardinals in 2016.
Nope.
No. When they lost both their coordinators. Oh, I think I'm gonna one up your trivia right here, Ziggy. It's not the Cardinals. The Falcons. I'm sorry. The Falcons lost both their coordinators in 2015 or 16.
The Broncos post Super Bowl.
I think it was Kyle Shanahan went to the Niners and their D coordinator got fired.
The Broncos post Super Bowl. That's my guess.
All right, you're good. I should have been more clear. Do you know when the last time a team lost both coordinators to head coaching gigs was?
No, I do. I see it right. I have.
But if I said their defensive coordinator just got fired.
Well, the Falcons coordinator got fired after blowing the 28-3 lead. But two coaches who got hired, I can tell you. I'm looking.
Jack, do you know?
Why don't you guess, Jack?
No, I couldn't. I have zero idea.
It was the 1994 49ers.
You could give me a million guesses. I would have never got that.
They lost Mike Shanahan to the Broncos and Ray Rhodes to the Eagles.
So I looked into it a little bit, Ziggy, and because Shanahan, everyone knows how successful he was with Denver, and Shanahan with the Falcons, who lost both their coordinators. Shanahan obviously wildly successful with the Niners, and the defensive coordinator, I think he became the Chargers linebackers coach. So I was curious. I was looking. I was like, okay, Ray Rhodes, this other coordinator for the 49ers. Like, let's see how successful he is. He did okay, but I think the pattern that I'm picking up on is now one of these two guys for the Eagles is going to go on to be a legendary coach, and I'm just not sure. I'd lean in favor of the Colts with Shane Steichen. I just like that situation better. But if we're following the records,
I think the Colts are hoping that history repeats itself and the offensive coordinator goes on to be great.
Yeah. So that could be a little pattern that we might have to pay attention to as the offseason or as the years go on. You heard it here first. If Shane Steichen becomes an all-time great coach, we were on to that.
Right here on the Paul Farrington show.
Right here. What's the situation with? Have you won your bet, Jack?
There's 5 seconds left. Creighton has the ball to tie game, and it is going to overtime. It's going to overtime.
All right.
Excellent. Well, there you go. The hardwood hammer in live time. Is
live action. Yeah, live updates here.
Of course, people by the time they're watching this, the game will be over.
Yeah, but they get to see the degeneracy.
Know that Providence blew a 4-point lead in the final minute and a half too.
Yeah, they'll know that. Well, let's do a little quarterback carousel action here. We'll talk about 4 quarterbacks and where we think they're going to end up.
Oh, I like this. I'm ready for this.
Oh, this is going to be fun. Let's
start. You ready?
All right, why don't we start with the big fish, Aaron Rodgers? Would either of you guys like to start?
You want to start, Ziggy? You want me to go?
My prediction is falling into a bottomless pit during his darkness retreat.
Did you see about the darkness retreat? That
he's getting in a fight online with Rappaport and Schefter because they said it started this weekend, and Rodgers went on Pat McAfee say they don't know shit about him. That actually it's starting on Thursday. Thank you very much.
So what actually is he doing? I didn't read the entire article.
Here's what he's doing. He's going into like a room or a house of some kind that is going to be completely dark for 4 days.
With no,
and there's going to be a prison cell. There's going to be a little food slit, and he's going to get like 3 meals a day. And other than that, he's going to have no interaction with anyone.
Why? No phone, no social media or anything?
No. He's just there to think about his future. The Packers have got to be so sick of this. No, he's going to New York.
Dude, I love Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers is hysterical.
Do you want to hear what I think? I mean, New York is probably where he will end up, but I am not totally surprised if he goes and reunites with Devontae in Vegas.
Those are 2 for me as well.
No, I would be.
You don't like that, Ziggy?
The Raiders are not one player away. The Packers are going to ask for a first-round pick for Aaron Rodgers, and I think from the Jets at least can probably get it.
Oh, I forgot you hate the Raiders.
The Raiders have had a bottom 5 defense pretty much every year except one for the past 6 years. The offense is good, but I don't see this team as one piece. So we've seen Aaron Rodgers and what he does with mediocre to bad defenses. Getting him doesn't help the team's future. Ziegler and
no relation.
Yeah, no, like they're not worried about their jobs. I can't see them going for 1 year of Aaron Rodgers. The Jets, on the other hand, desperate enough.
I think he goes to the Jets as well.
I saw some Tannehill rumors to the Jets though too.
That would be. Andrew would kill someone if Ryan Tannehill became the Jets quarterback.
He would tear MetLife to the ground brick by brick.
I also agree. I think Rodgers goes to New York. I do think the Raiders though are an interesting situation because if I were in Vegas' shoes, I would go all in on Rodgers. I just don't like. What do you want to do? You're going to go and get Jimmy Garoppolo and have him come in and do nothing?
You draft a rookie.
Yeah, no. Drafting the rookie is the other thing to do, but the team around Devontae Adams is getting older. Darren Waller is injury prone. I guess you blow it up then, right?
I think you do. You hold on to like maybe Adams, maybe Crosby.
Well, how old is Devontae now?
That offense would be
30. So he's a young 30. He turns 30 in December. He'll be 30 all in next season. You can wait a year or two.
So you're banking on probably hitting on it's going to be Levis or Anthony Richardson unless you trade up.
They can easily trade up though.
So if you were in Vegas' shoes, would you draft a quarterback? You say, but which one would you go for?
I don't think they can move up to 1. I think that's going to be too costly. I'd move up to 3. Take Levis, Stroud, or Richardson, whoever you like the most. That's going to fall to you.
Well, I think Stroud will be out of there. I guess it depends. Some people like Levis, but yeah. So you'd go the path of rookie.
The Raiders haven't had a homegrown guy in years. But they've had Derek Carr, but he hasn't been it for them. This team's not one quarterback away from them. The Jets, you can sell me. They've got an elite defense. They've got tons of skill positions. I think the Raiders should be out of the quarterback market except for free agents. They can't afford to lose draft picks. They need so many holes.
I mean, that offense with Aaron Rodgers will be unbelievable. And in the AFC West,
Jack's licking his lips over here.
In the AFC West, you need points. Points. Chiefs, Chargers.
Well, you know what Ziggy says? Ziggy would say you need defense.
You need both.
I think you got to win shootouts.
Look, if I were Vegas, I would go after Rodgers. I think he's just going to wind up with the Jets. I do think Jimmy Garoppolo has a good chance. He's another quarterback on our list here.
Let's talk about Jimmy Garoppolo. We've talked Rodgers. He's going to New York.
I can see Jimmy Garoppolo going to the Raiders.
I know where Jimmy G is going. He's going to Tampa.
Tampa?
Yeah. Yeah, I think if he fits the Tampa system beautifully.
Okay. He got good weapons there. I like him going to the Raiders. I just think that Josh McDaniels sees him as a good bridge quarterback. If they got Jimmy Garoppolo, Ziggy, what kind of deal do you think he's looking at? Do you think you could get Jimmy for a 2-year contract?
I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be offered more than a 1-year deal.
Yeah,
here's why.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people see Jimmy Garoppolo as the guy who led the 49ers to a Super Bowl and an NFC championship. If I'm a GM, and I think a lot of guys are thinking this, I'm seeing a guy who struggled and then was immediately outplayed by Mr. Irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
But Brock Purdy looked good, right? But he completely transformed that offense almost immediately compared to a traditionally hard offense. Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't get it done with the kinds of skill weapons you're getting in San Francisco. I'm very low on him. He keeps getting injured and missing a lot of time. I think he's looking at a 1 year, maybe $15 to $20 million.
Okay, that's not so bad, right?
It's not bad. I mean, I said the Bucs too because that division is just so terrible.
Well, he'd be the best quarterback.
With Jimmy G, the Bucs he's good enough where they're a clear favorite in the NFC South.
Well, who are you thinking, Ziggy?
I think Derek Carr is going to be the best quarterback in that division.
Well, yeah,
we'll get there. We'll get there. But
okay.
Well, Garoppolo, though, the reason I like him to the Raiders is I think Josh McDaniels was a big advocate for him in New England. He might be able to come in for 1 year. You could still draft a quarterback and have him sit and learn, and eventually, if he replaces Jimmy during the season, fine, okay, your quarterback's doing well. I like Garoppolo to Vegas. I also think a couple other places that interest me are Tennessee and maybe even Houston.
Tennessee could be an interesting one. Right now, I'm going Rodgers to Vegas, Tannehill to the Jets, and
we'll get there in a second.
Yeah,
Ziggy, what's your final on Jimmy Garoppolo?
Honestly, I think the Raiders signed him to a cheap deal. If not the Raiders. Yeah, I'll go with that. Raiders signed him to a cheap deal, draft a quarterback to sit behind him.
All right, so we're in agreement. At the golden rule of the show, Paul's always right. Ziggy's sometimes right, sometimes wrong, and our old friend Will Coots is always wrong. So in this case, yeah, Ziggy seems to be right. Why don't we talk about if Will Coots listens to this, he'll enjoy that.
Coots.
Derek Carr.
Coots an Oak State guy, right? He's a Cowboys fan, isn't he?
He is. He's an Oak State guy.
Hey, big game tonight.
Speaking of the Raiders, Derek Carr. Where do you like him going, Ziggy?
One team put together a trade package for Derek Carr, the New Orleans Saints.
Mm-hmm.
All the Saints players are going to Twitter to talk about him. Look, I think the reason Carr didn't want to get traded is because the Saints actually couldn't make the cap work with his contract. I think Carr's going to go there cheap. It's the team that offers him the best chance to win now of like any of the options that are available. And, he's still got some years left. I think he signs there for a multi-year deal as the starter.
Okay.
And the Saints try their hands at getting a West Coast quarterback as a free agent coming off a disappointing season yet again.
I'm going to stick in the division.
Have you?
Is it at all possible Derek Carr goes to Carolina?
Yeah, of course it's
Sure.
possible.
Hold on, there's so much. So yeah, you got who do you got? I mean, he's an upgrade over Sam Darnold, obviously, and then you got Matt Corral, injury prone. You don't know how he is. You get Derek Carr in Carolina, they're probably the NFC South favorite.
I think whoever
depending
Derek
on who Tampa gets.
Yeah, I really do think whoever Derek Carr went to in that division would probably be the favorite.
He'd run a good offense in Carolina.
He would be the best quarterback in the NFC South, barring something absurd happening with Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers, like something absolutely ridiculous happening with one of those quarterbacks. I
mean, Carolina was just they came down to the final season. They were in contention the whole season for the NFC South. You give him Derek Carr.
I
got a good number of weapons there, fine enough.
And let's not forget the Panthers were able to put together about a league average defense, despite having arguably the worst quarterback play in the entire league. Like this is a team that's got a lot of ways to go up. DJ Moore perennially slept upon.
Yep.
If they can get Derek Carr without spending draft capital, get some good guys around him, defense continues to improve. There's a lot to like about this team.
DJ Moore is awesome, but I will never draft him in fantasy. Ever.
No, he's the worst ever. You see him like in the third round. It's like, oh, DJ Moore, here he is.
No, never. I mean, I guess this plays perfectly into his perennially slept on status that Ziggy says here. I got Derek Carr going to the Buccaneers. But we all have NFC South.
NFC South, all right.
But I just see him fit in nicely with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. That Leonard Fournette's there. It's an attractive place. I think he would be okay. I don't think that Derek Carr makes him a Super Bowl contender, but I do think that he'd make them good enough to win the NFC South. Not that Tom Brady
I think
was that
Derek
bad
Carr,
this season. Just I think that Derek Carr comes in and they're still the best team in the division.
Can you imagine at the beginning of last offseason, someone tells you that the only sure starter in the NFC South is Desmond Ridder?
Oh, I mean, he's not even a sure starter. But
He's
he's the closest thing.
Yeah, but that's just crazy.
That division is an absolute mess right now.
People are sleeping. If you've got Pitts and London and think you can get the defense together, the Falcons could be one of those sleeper teams that enters these quarterback negotiations.
All the teams are very similar to me right now. I think that they're in fairly similar positions here. Atlanta's a little bit more behind, I would say, but
they've got the offensive weapons that none of these other teams do.
Sort of. I don't know. Who they have Pitts and what?
London.
Yeah, London. Yeah,
Drake London played well last year.
No, London was good, and he's young, and their running game was awesome with Algier and Patterson.
Who else? Right?
Well, I don't know. It depends. Tampa Bay, some people might like Godwin and Evans there, even though Evans didn't have a great season.
And that Bucs line needs some work. The Bucs line needs some work.
The Saints, Kamara, Thomas, Olave, that's not so bad. If Derek Carr went to any of those teams right now, wouldn't you say they're the favorite to win the division?
Yeah.
Okay. Last thing I got to say about the NFC South. People say Mike Evans had an off year. Maybe that's right, but somehow he put together his 9,000-yard season in a row. He is Mr. Reliable, right? Even in 2017 when he had 1,001 yards, this man refuses to go under 1,000.
Well, didn't he have one game this year with like 300?
He went for like 210 against the Panthers.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that game. Yeah, he popped.
Yes,
right? He popped off.
Semifinal or championship?
When they beat Carolina to clinch the division, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
He won the game with 900. He said, "Screw it! I'm putting up 200 yards. We're winning this game."
I think
just before, no one in NFL history has ever come close to this kind of a streak to start
an awesome record.
Career.
I mean, if you give Tampa Derek Carr, I think he's better than Brady was this past year, like 1,000%.
You do?
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of the Tampa beat reporters I've read that they say that the issue in Tampa was not Brady this season.
I don't think it was either, but I don't think Brady was really all that good. He didn't impress me at all.
Derek Carr, yeah, he was okay this season.
I think Carr now being much younger.
Sometimes a change of pace.
New environment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
no, I like that.
Paul, who's the next QB on the list?
All right, so we got two more, and I'm gonna loop them together because I believe we're all gonna have the same answer here. Lamar Jackson and Geno Smith. Do you see either of them leaving their current destination?
Definitely not Geno Smith. I think he's staying in Seattle.
Do you think Seattle is what, the 5th pick or 6th pick in the draft right now from Denver?
Yeah, why would they?
Believe. Do you think that they might go quarterback though while keeping it's an interesting situation there because how long do you sign Geno for?
I think Geno earned his stripes.
Would you sign him? Would you sign him to a 3-year deal?
Yeah, why not? Why wouldn't you? I think he earned his stripes.
Okay,
got into the playoffs.
So you believe? Oh, you've been a fan of him all season.
I'm a Geno guy, but I'm in his first year starting now in a long time, and it takes you to the playoffs.
Would you attach yourself to him?
I remember the first episode we all said Seattle's gonna be the worst team in the NFC.
Yeah,
and went to the playoffs.
No, he had a great season. Would you attach yourself to Geno, Ziggy?
You want to hear my crazy take, Paul?
Yeah,
I think Lamar's going to Seattle.
All right, I like this.
The Seattle offensive coordinator went into Baltimore twice to interview for the offensive coordinator job, but he's a longtime buddy of Pete Carroll. I don't think they ever thought he was going to leave. I think he was there to scout out Lamar Jackson, see how people were feeling about him.
So would you see a Geno for Lamar swap?
You send Geno,
plus obviously for other stuff, for other things.
You send Geno in the number 5 over for Lamar Jackson. I'm not sure Baltimore says no.
I think Baltimore would say yes.
I think Baltimore would say yes too.
I don't think John Harbaugh wants to pay him.
I don't think,
but that doesn't sound like a crazy trade. Pete Carroll, you know how much he loves run-heavy offenses. Put Lamar Jackson in there. The fans will go crazy.
Walker,
the defense
Lamar Jackson.
Oh, I'd buy into it.
And that's fun. I like that, Ziggy. I think that's a fun scenario right there, and one that I don't think is actually that unrealistic. It depends on the cap space here and there, but
no, both teams can afford to make this deal because neither quarterback actually has a deal. Mm-hmm. You can easily just set up the monies with an extension for both of them, such that it's pretty trivial.
My guess right now, I love that. I think that's a really fun answer. My guess right now is that both of them stay. I think Lamar, the contract probably gets worked out. Maybe not as much as he wants. I think John Harbaugh's probably not too happy about it. And then Geno Smith, I don't think he's ever going to be the guy in Seattle. So if it were up to me, I would probably go and draft a quarterback.
Walker, DK, and Lamar.
That would be fun.
Man.
But I think Seattle is looking at the situation. Like teams, they don't want to let go of quarterbacks. And Geno had a good year, so I think they're going to give him a contract. I personally wouldn't, but that's the way I see it unfolding. I do like that trade situation, though. I actually think that's a real possibility, Ziggy.
No one's talking about it right now, but the cards are sort of lining up. It
Yep.
makes sense for both teams of how they've approached things. We know Seattle's not afraid to give ridiculous deals to quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm. And they're not afraid to go and make absurd trades.
With Action Jackson in the Pacific Northwest, the salmon capital of the world. I don't know if that's true. Are they the NFC West favorites?
No.
Still stand for anything?
San Francisco. Yeah.
Actually, if Purdy's not healthy to start the season, which is possible, like say Seattle gets a 4 or 5 game head start before Purdy comes back.
When Purdy, isn't it 6 months? I thought he's supposed to be back in June.
Anytime you're talking about surgery on the UCL, things can go very wrong, right? Like we've seen, like in baseball, sometimes guys are ready to go 6-7 months. Sometimes it takes over a year before they're like ready to start throwing. This surgery will work. It's got a very high success rate, but getting back in a few months, never a guarantee with the old Tommy John.
Yeah.
I mean, Seattle with Lamar versus a second-year QB who might have been a flash in the pan. You never know. I might say Seattle's the better team.
A second-year QB who lost 1 game in like 10, including the playoffs.
I know.
I like that. I'm interested to see if that could happen. I really like that trade, Ziggy. I think that I would take it if I were in both situations.
Yeah, I would too.
So, hey, it could happen if it does.
I don't want to pay Lamar $250 million, though.
Gun to my head, I think he's probably staying in Baltimore, though.
Okay.
Gun to my head.
Yeah,
okay.
But look, if he's traded to the Seahawks, you heard it here first. No one's talking about this, but it makes a world of sense. sometimes in the offseason, you got to have a little fun.
Speaking of a little fun in the offseason, top 10 quarterbacks. We mentioned it before. I'm going to list mine first. My top 10 quarterbacks that I would want.
8 seconds in OT, tie
8
game.
seconds in OT, tie game.
5,
Who is the
4,
ball?
Creighton ball. 3, 2, 1.
Double OT.
Double OT.
You're being strung along live.
The hardwood hammers.
My heart is racing 1,000 miles an hour. You wouldn't know it. You'd have no idea. I'm keeping calm here.
This is why he's wearing the shades inside.
Yeah, you'd have no clue. My heart is pounding right now.
You're getting the live updates of Jack reacting to the game. Again, you will know what happened by the time you're watching this, but just know that Jack.
Another 4-point lead in OT blown. Another 4-point lead was blown.
So the way we're going to rank these quarterbacks here, I believe Ziggy and I have a list, and then Jack will comment on them and perhaps choose a winner if he feels like it.
Ah, yeah, of course.
We're going to say
I'm all ears.
The top 10 quarterbacks that we would want if we wanted to win the Super Bowl next year. So not based on their situations, just who we would want to win a Super Bowl. I'll go first. Obviously, number 1, Patrick Mahomes, MVP of the league. Gutsy, tough, every single GOAT conversation, whatever you want about
Hall of
him.
Fame resume at age 27.
Yep. Patrick Mahomes, number 1. Number 2, I'm going to go with Joe Burrow. I think that this guy surpassed Josh Allen this year. 2 straight AFC Championship games. Mahomes' biggest rival. He went into Buffalo and beat Josh. This guy's a winner. On this show, I've said multiple times, I think he's unbelievable. Give me Burrow at 2. 3, I'm going to put Josh Allen. I know that a lot of people are down on him. He didn't have as good a year as he was expected to have. He wasn't as good as he was last season. But I just think this guy, way too much talent, way too much of an anomaly at the position to pass up on. If I wanted to win a Super Bowl, I put him at 3. 4, and this is where I started to get a little indecisive. I'm going to go with Justin Herbert. Just too much raw talent and the potential there for an explosive season. What are we going into? Are we going into year 4 now of Herbert?
Yeah, but
year 4?
The Chargers let him down.
Yeah, the Chargers, again, if this was a ranking based on how I think they'll perform with their team next season, I actually might bump Herbert a little lower. But just based on pure raw talent, give me Herbert at 4. 5, I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers. I think that he still has a little magic and a lot of talent left in that gas tank. He came out and said, obviously, he believes in himself, but he said he can play at an MVP level still. I think with a new environment, some better weapons around him. Again, most of the season he was playing with rookie receivers who were injured, who weren't running the right routes. In the right environment, I still think Aaron Rodgers can be very, very good. 6, Jalen Hurts. This guy, in my opinion, if he didn't get injured, I think he should have won the MVP award.
And I put him 2.
He's unbelievable. I think Hurts is a great player, improved as a passer a lot this season. 16-2 in games where Jalen Hurts started this season, the Eagles were. 7, I know Ziggy's high on this guy. Trevor Lawrence now ended the season with a 15-2 touchdown to interception ratio in his final 9 games. The Jaguars went 7-2.
Oh, he balled out. I love that.
Maybe no one was hot. Very few quarterbacks were as hot as Trevor Lawrence to end the season. And I think he does carry a lot of that momentum into next year. I'm just not as high as a lot of people who are putting him as a top 5 quarterback in football. 8, Lamar Jackson. I have ups and downs with how I feel about Lamar, but there's just, when he's on, again, MVP level player who can just take over a game. The injury concerns are there, though. 9, I'm going to go with Matthew Stafford. Forgotten player this season because of the injuries and the disappointment for the Rams, but it was just 1 year ago we were talking about him as one of the best quarterbacks in football and a Super Bowl champion. And then, at number 10, Kirk Primetime Cousins. I'm thinking about other quarterbacks I could put here. Tua.
Pickett.
Goff was playing really well at the end of the year. Dak.
But Paul.
Justin Fields is explosive. But look, Kirk Cousins, I'm telling you, Kirk Cousins, you put him in the right environment, you give him a defense, which the Vikings did not have. If you protect him, he's a great, great passer, and he's extremely accurate. I thought he carried the Vikings most of the season, him and Justin Jefferson. So I have no problem at all listing Kirk Cousins as the 10th best quarterback in the NFL.
So what I'm doing here while listening to you and Ziggy say your top 10 rankings is I'm disregarding situation completely, as you said. Mm-hmm. I'm picturing my Steelers, right, with an all-star defense, superstar weapons, all the 9 yards, and who I'd rather have, who I'd have as my quarterback is what I'm processing here in my head.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. It's reasonable.
To help me, analyze.
Kirk Cousins would annihilate people with that.
I think he'd be very good.
He'd be awesome. Now, of course, again, there's a lot of good candidates there, but I like Kirk, and I don't think that he gets nearly as much credit as he should. He gets way too much blame too. All right, Ziggy, go ahead. That's my top 10 right there.
All right, Ziggy, let's hear it.
Top 3, very easy. Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, just like you said. Mm-hmm. Number 4, we got Justin Herbert.
Okay.
Number 5, we got Trevor Lawrence. This is, I fully believe in AFC supremacy. Just outside the top 5, looking in, number 6, Jalen Hurts. Very good quarterback. Awesome guy. Love to watch him play.
Awesome guy.
Yeah,
he does seem like a super nice dude,
story.
Too. Great leader.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he stayed at Alabama for that year instead of transferring out really tells you a lot about him. Was ready to save the season, but that's number 6. Number 7, we got Tua.
Okay.
Very good quarterback. Number 8, we got Lamar Jackson. Number 9, Jared Goff. And number 10, people are not going to see this one coming, but I'm telling you, I think it's his year next year. Bryce Young, quarterback of wherever he is. Okay. I think he's going to have a great season to start his career. Just outside, I've got Justin Fields looking in. Aaron Rodgers, he's all right. But so 8 of my top 10 are AFC.
If you wanted to win a Super Bowl, you're putting Bryce Young ahead of Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, I think that. No, so look, if we were considering the performance last year, I think this is right. But I truly believe next year we will see the cliff that is Aaron Rodgers. Because look,
it falls apart.
How many NFL playoff games has Bryce Young choked? None. How many playoff games has Aaron Rodgers choked? Almost every single one he's been in since the Super Bowl. I just don't trust this guy to win.
Mean, the 3 toughest games in Bryce Young's career being the championship, at LSU, and at Tennessee, he's 0-3. I mean, so there's no way I'm putting him as top 10 and winning a Super Bowl in the NFL. At the moment.
Let me ask you, Ziggy. Honestly, the Bryce Young one I think is an interesting take because he could be good. I think it's absurd to put him in the top 10. But Tua at 7. What was your reasoning behind that?
Here's my reasoning for Tua at 7. So look, I think Tua's problem is health. Mm-hmm. Look, he has not been healthy, but we're not really considering that. The fact is Tua has shown that what he can do is, in all sorts of situations, deliver the ball on time and accurately. Does that make him the best quarterback in the league? No. But what that means is you've got a guy who's consistent and reliable and very good at his job, right? He threw, 26 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. He ran when he needed to. He put up 3,700 yards in 13 games. I get that he's got good weapons around him. This has made him look better, but I think with Tua, you're just getting Mr. Reliable, and that's enough to put you in the upper quartile of quarterbacks, I think. Not elite, not the best guy in the league, but very, very good. And I think that's the minimum you need to win a Super Bowl. Anyone below him, I think, doesn't have much of a chance.
Okay. I like Ziggy's ranking in terms of Jared Goff a little bit more than Matthew Stafford. And I also think that you guys are crazy not putting Hurts in the top 4. I mean, after what we saw him do with great weapons, a great defense, took him to 16 wins and a Super Bowl.
No, he's incredible.
You know what we saw him do?
He was 4 on my list for a while.
I can buy, of course, Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, fine. I don't know how you don't put Jalen Hurts at 4. I wouldn't put Lawrence over Hurts.
No, I had Lawrence a little bit behind. Again, the people love Trevor Lawrence. He's going to be the sweetheart of the offseason.
Yeah, I think he's good.
The reason that I had Hurts behind Herbert and Aaron Rodgers is I just think that those two guys, both of them are unbelievable passers, gifted passers. Herbert with his size and strength, and Rodgers just, of course, we know the accuracy and everything. So I think that they're both better throwers of the ball than Jalen Hurts. Again, his running game's unbelievable. But those two guys can be in a different atmosphere.
I mean, in today's NFL, though, and I was always against this, today's NFL, you have to have legs. You got to be able to scramble. You got to be able to do both things.
No, Hurts was great.
And Hurts does that better than everybody in the league.
The Super Bowl performance, people are only talking about it right now because it was a Super Bowl and they all watched him. He's been doing that all season.
Yeah, he's been the best quarterback in the league. He's been the best in the league all season.
Again, would have been my MVP had he stayed healthy, and I actually may have even voted for him. I know Mahomes is phenomenal all season, but this guy was just so good. I have him at 6. Yeah, I just have him at 6.
I put him at 4.
Okay, but you agree on the top 3?
Yeah, I did. I do also agree. I'd probably slide Burrow in number 2 now ahead of Josh Allen.
Okay.
Allen's probably 3. I'd put Hurts at 4. I'd probably put Lawrence at 5. Again, on top of my head, I'm just thinking of what I don't have a list pre-made. I don't really know from there.
Yeah, no. Where do you like Rodgers? Do you think Rodgers fits in?
Rodgers probably 6 or 7.
Okay.
Lamar's Rodgers maybe 6, Lamar 7.
And then you got a bunch of those guys.
I like Jared Goff. I mean, I'm picturing Jared Goff. What he did.
He had a great end of the year.
What Jared Goff did. I mean, he ran an explosive offense for most of the year with a terrible defense. I mean, you give Jared Goff a good defense.
Yeah, and let's be clear, that Lions offense, it's like they had some good players, right? They had Amon-Ra St. Brown, they had Jamal Williams, but it's not like we're not talking like a Miami situation where you've got 2 of the top 10 receivers in the league. He ran an explosive offense despite not having the absolute best stuff around him, which I think has shown he's grown beyond the need for like Sean McVay and a million weapons.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he had a great end of the season.
Again, injury concern with Tua. But I mean, let's say he never got hurt, right? But to put it all behind him, he's probably top 5, top 6.
So then you would have Tua.
I'd probably have Tua at 9. Yeah, 9. Dak at 10, maybe.
Or Kirk. No, I'm sorry. You're the Kenny Pickett at
Kirk. Pickett's probably like 12 or 13.
Okay. All right. I don't mind any of the lists. I think the Bryce Young take is one that we're gonna have to monitor, and we'll see.
I forgot Herbert
next season.
Herbert's probably 6 or 7.
Here's the last question I got for y'all, though.
Yeah.
On this thing is, where do you think your cutoff is for quarterbacks who can win you a Super Bowl? And I don't necessarily mean carrying the team on their back. I think that cutoff's at like 4, but good enough that you can consider yourself in the Super Bowl running.
I think. Well, with a Super Bowl roster around him too, or just in the current situation
with a Super Bowl quality roster around them.
I think honestly, I'd put a good handful of quarterbacks in that category. If you give him the right situation, I'd put a good handful of quarterbacks out there.
I'm just looking at my list, and the reason my immediate thought was that the list is probably short, but then I was looking at, if I have Matthew Stafford at 9, he just did that.
Yeah, I 100% Stafford. I think I'd throw in Goff.
I would say that the list is probably 9 deep. I would cut it off at Kirk. I'd probably cut it off at Kirk, and then say Kirk, Dak, Tua, Goff. I'm not super confident in them winning a Super Bowl.
I think Dak.
I think they can. I think they can, but I'm not even sure if I don't even know if I put Lamar Jackson really in.
Here's the only thing I'd say.
I don't know if I believe him as winning a Super Bowl in his career.
Here's the only thing I'd say is, you guys want to be permissive, and that's fine. But what I think is, we saw this Eagles roster, right? They had how many All-Pros? It felt like they had an All-Pro at every single position.
Yeah.
Wide receiver, cornerback, defensive tackle, defensive end, offensive line. And that wasn't enough to win the Super Bowl of Jalen Hurts. Now, I get that it was a close game and they could have, but if you get a quarterback who's much worse than Jalen Hurts in there, how are they beating the Chiefs? How are they beating the Bills? How are they beating this Eagles team next year? I really feel like with these guys, the ceiling has gone up, and it's going to be very hard for these quarterbacks outside maybe the top 6 to break in.
Yeah, it might be that same thing with my top 6. Trevor Lawrence is 7, and can he win the Super Bowl next season?
Well, here's the thing, though. The Eagles could have won the Super Bowl. And I think if you put most quarterbacks in Jalen Hurts' situation, they're also good enough to do so. Mm-hmm. And that was the question. Like, if they could. I think a good handful could. I'm not saying would, but I think could.
Yeah, I think I cut it off at Stafford at 9 for me. And then Kirk is probably the first one where a lot of things would have to go right. Kirk is a great quarterback.
Mike White never wins a Super Bowl, ever. With no matter who that freaking guy's his team is.
No, Mike White's not going to win. I don't think. I really don't think at this point Derek Carr is going to win. Garoppolo, these guys, they're very good. Like, they can get. They can make runs.
Sam Darnold, no. Marcus Mariota, no. Andy Dalton, no.
All right, so Ziggy has a very short list. You go a little bit deeper.
I go deeper. Yeah.
Middle. Okay.
Let's see who wins next year. Then we'll know.
Yeah, that'll answer all our questions based on next season. But yeah, I do think that. Man, Lamar Jackson's a tough one for me. I don't know where I come down on.
I think you surround Lamar with, if you put Lamar on the Philadelphia Eagles, 1,000% win the Super Bowl. If he stays healthy.
Yeah, oh yeah.
If he stays healthy.
He's like Jalen.
If he stays healthy.
He's like Jalen. Okay, why don't we wrap up with this? Just one more quick thing. We'll be a couple minutes here. The Super Bowl betting odds for next season came out.
By the way, the Hammers 5-1.
They have
Providence up by 15
won?
seconds, double OT.
Excellent.
Never a doubt.
5-1. The Super Bowl odds came out for next season, and real quick, I just want to mention a couple. We were going to say like a team that we like and a team that we don't like based on their odds. The Chiefs came in at the favorite at plus 600. They're followed up by the Bills, Eagles, Bengals, and 49ers. That's your top 5. I'm not a big fan of the Ravens. They're the 8th most likely odds to win at plus 1,600. I just the whole situation there with the Lamar contract, even if he gets it, I'm not a big fan of them at plus 1,600. And then Denver, I actually don't mind the Broncos. I think they're sitting at 16. If Sean Payton comes in at plus 3,500, I would not bet it. Now, let me get this straight. I would not bet it. But when you're looking at the odds of who from the 16 to 32 has a good shot, Denver could have a big turnaround next season if everything goes right.
Yeah, of course, but you also have to look at and this is all baked into the odds. You got to look at the divisions they play into. Like I know Sean Payton's great, so much talent in Denver to have two underwhelming bad years in a row. Now with the talent, with Sean Payton, the coach who's won a Super Bowl before, they'll be a lot better, no doubt. But if they make the playoffs, they're going on the road. Yeah. They're not beating out Kansas City. Mm-hmm. LA is tough, so I'd rule them out based on who they're playing against all year.
Ziggy, you have a very focused look on right now. It seems like something's going on up there.
I hate to say this, but honestly, I think the Chiefs plus 600 might be the bet here. Now, this sounds absolutely insane, but think about it like this. Do you think the Chiefs have a better than 1 in 6 chance to win the Super Bowl?
Probably.
Honestly, you got Patrick Mahomes. They're going to have a top offense. The defense will be fine. I haven't seen evidence really that any other team is more likely than them to win the Super Bowl. And you're telling me like 15% chance the Chiefs win? You could talk me into walking myself into that. Now, obviously, everybody knows what the worst odds are, right? It's the Cowboys plus 1,500.
I'm not a big fan of that. They're the six best odds. Hey, can I mention one thing, Ziggy? I glanced over and I totally forgot to mention them. The two teams. The Lions come in at plus 2,500. That's the 10th best odds. And right behind them are the Jets at 11. Also tied, plus 2,500. How crazy is that you're looking at the Super Bowl odds right now, and the Detroit Lions and the New York Jets are 10 and 11.
The Lions, to me...
They're 8-2 to end the year, right?
Yeah, they were. Yeah. Like the Steelers. Don't forget. The Lions, to me, just need pieces on that defense to win a Super Bowl. I think 2,500, that's a little too much respect. In terms of keep in mind, making the playoffs, having a good season is different than winning the Super Bowl. The Lions are not a team that win the Super Bowl.
I don't think they win the Super Bowl either.
I'll say the one thing about the Jets is just building in Aaron Rodgers.
That's the Aaron Rodgers effect, for sure.
But the thing about the Lions is people sometimes forget this. They already have a quarterback with Super Bowl experience, and that means something, right? Like whatever you want to say about McVay carrying Goff or whatever, this is a guy who knows what it takes to win at the highest level, who's got some credibility after this streak. I think that's the kind of bet that I place. Hope they make it to like the divisional round or the NFC Championship and then hedge the shit out of it. That's Lions, the kind of bet I'm looking for.
It's going to be a frustrating offseason as an NFC North fan because the Lions are just like this year. The Lions are going to get a ton of hype coming in. I know that they ended the season well, but we can't disregard they sucked at the beginning of the year. They're the Detroit Lions, so.
They remind me of the Cleveland Browns.
It's just like I see them there at 10, and they have a really talented roster around them. But I'm just until I see them in a playoff game first.
Just you got to remember they're there at 10. That's one way of putting it. The other way to put it is 4%.
Yeah, but still, 10th out of 32 is not bad. If the Jets get Rodgers. Man, they're going to be a good team.
The Jets are they're just never going to win.
So
where are the Steelers odds?
What's
the number? The Steelers are plus 5,000.
I think that's a good bet.
Well, of course you do.
No, I seriously do. This team should have made the playoffs, came into the final week of the season, and was without Watt for 6 weeks. And Mitch started the first 4 weeks of the season.
Just imagine the Steelers going in to Kansas City, Buffalo, or Cincinnati next season.
Or they win the division.
Let me be clear.
Well, they're not.
I would love that bet if Matt Canada weren't returning.
This team, mark my words, with Watt healthy all last year, has 12 wins.
Do you truly
win?
believe that Matt Canada can coach an NFL winning offense, a Super Bowl winning offense? Do you really believe this?
Yes.
No, you hate Matt Canada.
All right, cut the show, Paul. We're done. We're done.
I think our defense with Watt is going to win a Super Bowl.
When was the last time a defense won a Super Bowl? The Broncos with Peyton Manning?
Our offense is capable enough.
Defense?
Pickett's good. Weapons are fine.
Broncos of Peyton Manning is, I think, the last time the defense won a Super Bowl.
How good are you saying the Tampa Bay defense was a couple of years ago?
But Tom Brady played very well.
Brady was great. Yeah.
You can look at the Rams, Patriots, maybe, but they still needed Tom Brady to overcome a very strong defense. Mm-hmm. It really was, I think, like the last time a defense dominated well enough to say throughout the playoffs, right? Not just one game, throughout the playoffs, they won a Super Bowl. Peyton in Denver. It's an offense-driven league. All 4 coaches in the championship games this year were offensive coaches. All 4 of the quarterbacks were guys who make our list of top 4 quarterbacks in the league, except Jalen Hurts, who's number 6.
Yes.
I mean, Pickett left a monster sophomore season. Pickens 1,400 yards.
I think the Steelers are...
And Watt will play all year. Plus 5K.
Steelers, man.
That team will win 12 games.
All right, Jack. Yeah, we'll see. Let's see. Chiefs, Bills, Bengals.
Like, what's Minnesota's odds? I'd take us over you.
We're 18.
Yeah, I'd take us over you over us.
No, I would take the Vikings.
I hate both these teams. I would not.
Look, the Vikings are sure to regress, but I would take them over the Steelers.
No.
The NFC is just an easier path than the AFC. Like the Vikings can absolutely win the division next year. The Steelers will not win the AFC North.
The Steelers probably have to play.
We can go 4-2 in the North. We seriously could. We can split with Baltimore, split with Cincy, sweep Cleveland.
Yeah, but the Bengals can do the same, and then we'll just have a better record than you. Look, it's to win the AFC, you probably have to beat 2 top 5 quarterbacks in the league, right? It's either going to be Allen Mahomes or Burrow Mahomes or Burrow or whatever.
Or Herbert's in there too.
Yeah, you might have to beat 3 top 5 quarterbacks to make it out of the AFC if you're a wild card. Nah.
Look, if you reach the championship and you have a plus 5,000 ticket, I'm drooling.
You need Kenny Pickett to become a top 10 quarterback in the league.
I think he could.
Look, if Pickett becomes a top 10 quarterback in the league, the Steelers are absurdly dangerous with that defense too. All right, that's where we'll wrap up this show. Hopefully, so this show will be coming out Wednesday. We're not going to do another show till next week. Hopefully, we're going to start planning ahead for the rest of the offseason and what we could be expecting to do here. I think we're going to get some more college basketball a little bit.
Some guests.
We're hoping to get some guests and maybe even callers. We're thinking about trying to get some callers, so a lot of big things coming up. Ziggy, did you have a closing remark there?
All I was going to say is we got to start talking basketball because UVA winning the national championship very soon. I'm going to beat the Notre Dame game this weekend, repping my Notre Dame gear. Going to watch us lose by probably like 10. Because that's how UVA.
That's how UVA wins games. It'll be like 11.
I don't know. Notre Dame. Well, actually, Notre Dame's pretty good at losing close games too.
Notre Dame's bad.
Notre Dame's bad, but they lose a lot of games by like 4 points.
My Pitt Panthers back in the tournament again this year. I'm amped.
Well, it's an exciting time for college basketball.
We're kind of nerdy.
The old bloods are out.
We're nerdy too because NFL. You have your audience. That's why this is an NFL show. Is we're all big football fans, and you have the audience too. College basketball is where we kind of geek out a little bit, though.
There's nothing like March, Paul.
Well, March Madness, we're going to have.
Oh, it's the best sporting event of the year.
Jack and I are going to be taking a red eye in from. Well, I guess not a red. Oh, yeah, kind of. A little bit of a red eye. Not the pure definition.
Not a red eye.
But we're going to be taking a very early flight home from Florida right after Selection Sunday to be doing a podcast. Full breakdown.
Absolutely.
I remember when I was a kid, we lived like right near Dayton. My mom would take me to like the Dayton, Ohio first 4 games. I'd put like a popcorn bucket on my hat, or on my head as a hat. Thought I was really cool.
Oh, we actually have. So our winner last year of the show's bracket was Tom Caffrey. His shirt finally got in. There was a bunch of issues with the shipping, so hopefully we could get a post of Tom in his Paul Farrington show shirt. He said it fits great.
Perfect.
So we'll be having another bracket again. We're a month away from the best sporting event of the year.
The best time of the year.
Yeah, incredible. All right, that'll wrap it up. We will see you next week. Ziggy, Jack, thanks for joining. We'll have Andrew back. This has been the Paul Farrington Show. Please like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you next week.